Okay,
I'm
so
ready.
we'll test the microphone.
Testing. 1, 2, 3. This ain't recording, is it? Oh,
It is recording because I'm going to try the
Okay.
mic.
Testing. 1,
And
2,
so, like,
3.
if your little beats.
Oh yeah.
It shouldn't. Cause
No, I'll just sit still.
Yeah. Just sit still. So,
Happy Veterans Day. I wore my beads and my little sticker just for the occasion. Got it at work today, so I thought I would keep wearing it for today. So happy Veterans Day to everyone.
Yeah, happy Veterans Day. We love you.
Yes.
We honor you. Not just today, but
Every
it's
day.
a good day. It's a good day to pick out of the calendar and do that.
I agree.
We do it every day.
Thank you for your service for our country.
Yeah. Well, we hope you enjoyed last week. We sure did. We thought if nobody else watched it, at least we'd watch it and have a good time. Oh, God. So this week, we talked about last week, I think I put a teaser in the last video about how we're going to talk. Did I put a teaser in there?
I think you did.
I think I did. Okay. We want to talk about heaven because heaven is a joyful place.
Yes, for sure.
What would you say some of those questions people have are?
Well, depending on what religion you grew up as, like, is there a purgatory? Are they somewhere where I need to continue to pray to get them into heaven? Did they go to heaven? Did they believe in Jesus Christ? Those are big ones.
Those are big ones.
Or will I see them again? When I get to heaven, will they know me? Will I know them?
That's a big one. And so Jesus actually tells us about that. So I think it's pretty cool because, he died and resurrected and then came back to prove himself to be alive, to show us several things that we can hope for.
And I know a lot of people think that when you're in heaven, you're on clouds and you're strumming a harp and there's fat little angels flying around you and it's boring. But no, like there's no more Mondays there.
Oh,
right? There's no more. We just talked about Christmas and Christmas shopping and stress and bills and doctor visits and it's perfect peace with Jesus Christ and perfect just joy every day. That's awesome.
Yeah. I think that's why it's so hard to comprehend because it's nothing like you've ever experienced on earth. Yeah.
So I think about my grandma because she died in January, which hasn't been that long ago. And I think about her on her deathbed. So like Wednesday, Thursday, and when we were caring for her at home, she was still connected with us. She was still somewhat talking to us, responding, smiling. But by Friday, she was disconnected. And she kept reaching up. And she was just in another place. It wasn't like she was even saying goodbyes, like you're leaving your family that you love so much. It wasn't like that. It's like she was focused on where she was going and who she was going to be with. And that outweighed anybody on this earth. I had that surgery and I thought about if I wake up, I remember praying right before they put me to sleep, if I wake up and I see you, Jesus, I win. If I wake up and see my family, I win. Either way, I win. And they were young still, right? Yeah. And but there was so much peace.
So for a mom who
right.
had young kids to be able to say that in that moment, it's
big.
That comes from the kingdom of
heaven.
It does. That doesn't come from anything on this earth.
No, not
because
at all.
Any mother would say, there's no way I would say that.
No.
There's no way I would say that. No. You couldn't in your right mind say that.
Say that. You wouldn't
say that.
But you
can't
that.
if it comes from the kingdom of heaven and there's a supernatural peace that comes over
Absolutely.
you. You can definitely say that.
You can.
It's not coming from your heart. It's coming from
because
the
I feel like you actually you do separate from the earth.
Yeah.
And I know that's a weird thing to try to explain to somebody, but when you're in that moment, there's so much peace again, peace and joy. And I remember even praying, but God, these are your children, and you are letting me borrow them. They're His. You hold their next breath in your hand.
That is so true.
And
that's another misconception is, well, if they still remember me or they will remember me, then they're going to see all the grief I'm going through now, and they're going to see how much I miss them, and it's going to make them sad. And it's I don't think they even. I think they're very much aware that they have left and where they are now, where they've arrived. But they're also very much aware that they are not in any time realm. Really think about it, you can almost even imagine, because I say I've never been there, so I don't know. You can only imagine that they might be up there thinking, see you in a minute. See you.
Yeah.
Because there's no time realm up there.
They're going to turn around and you're going to be there.
And we're going to be there.
Yes.
So it's just, I know it's a little deep, but it still brings me hope.
Oh, me too, for sure.
Yeah, it's really good. Billy Graham had a quote. And I hope I don't mess this up. I can't remember it word for word. When I'm gone, I wouldn't have died would have merely changed my address.
Wow.
That's what he said. That's so good.
But like you take your last breath here and you take your next breath in heaven.
You said that your grandma was reaching up like
Yes.
this. I've heard that so many different times where people lift their arms up like they're reaching up for something. I've also heard of patients being so dehydrated because they're in their last days,
right?
And they haven't drank anything, and all IVs have been removed, and they're severely dehydrated. Yet they look up and they smile, and there's a tear coming from their eye, and
there's
it's like a
yeah.
tear of joy, and you know that they see something, and it's like, oh my gosh, there's. I hate to use the word portal, but that's the word I'm going to use. It's almost as if there's this portal there
that's opened,
and to usher, because it says in the scriptures, it says that angels will come and just usher you into the presence of Jesus, and I'm like, oh my gosh.
Right?
Yeah. So one of the things that Jesus shows us is that we'll recognize people, not just our loved ones that we knew, but even loved ones that have been in other generations that we've never even met.
Right.
And he shows us that in the scriptures where he gets transfigured into the presence that he would look like when he is in heaven. And so he does this in front of the disciples. He just takes, a couple of them up this hill, and he says, come up with me, and he starts to become transfigured into all this glory, right? Well, when this is happening, there's Moses and Elijah that kind of show up on each side.
And that's so cool.
Peter just falls to the ground like, oh my gosh, I got to build altars. Here's Moses and here's Elijah. Okay, well, how would he know that's Moses and Elijah?
Yeah, how would he know?
He wasn't around when Moses was alive.
True.
Or Elijah
That's true.
Was alive. So he knew who they were. He had a recognition of who they were.
He did.
And then, of course, God speaks down from heaven and says, I need you to be quiet for a second, Peter. I need you to listen to my son.
Yes.
No, this is not an altar building time. This is a time for you to listen. And so I just thought that was really good that Peter was able to see that God allowed him to see that. So we would have that hope that, of course, that's proof right there that we would see, our great, great, great grandparents.
And know them.
And know who they are. And we were never introduced to them.
Not at
or
all.
Never even seen a photograph of them.
No.
And appears, after Jesus died and resurrected, he appears to like 500 people over a 40-day span just to prove he's alive, just to prove what he looks like. And when he appears in front of the disciples, he actually says, look at me, come touch the wounds that you know I had right here in my hands, in my side. He said, come look at the wounds so I'm standing here fully alive. And he's telling them that to give them encouragement. This is your promise too, And then it says, the Bible says they're still like, okay, but they're still wondering. It says they were still wondering, so Jesus said, oh, okay. Give me something to eat. I'm kind of hungry. He's like, I'm going to show you that I can eat too, and it's not going to come out of my body in weird holes, right?
Like a ghost.
And so it says that he ate fish and honeycomb, but not honeycomb cereal.
Yeah, not honeycomb cereal.
It was not the cereal. It's that when he sat down to eat, like they all had food in front of them, but none of them ate. They just sat and watched them. It says that they just like.
Because if anybody you know. If my grandmother, which I just watched her pass away, all of a sudden you've seen her and she's alive and she's like, hey, look at this and touch this and give me something to eat, you would be freaked out.
Yeah, you'd be like, oh, man.
Right. So that's how they were real people.
Yeah.
Watching him die and
And he said, I am flesh and bone. Come and look at my flesh and bone.
Yes.
So that is just hopeful that when we see someone, we're not going to like try to hug them and go, our arms are going to go through them. Like they're going to be real people. We're all going to be real people together. Now, there's a lot of details that have been taught about what are we going to do in eternity, right? And the Bible's clear about that. It talks about how at the end of the age, there's, all sorts of things after Jesus returns. There's a new heaven and a new earth. So new heaven and new earth, we're still going to exist.
Right.
So I believe we're going to be people that are going to be doing something.
Sure,
right? We're going to be productive
something.
somehow, some way, but in the presence of Jesus.
Right.
And I think how awesome is that kind of life? A life with no more goodbyes.
No.
Like we can talk about it, but when our day comes and we're faced with something that we know maybe we're getting close to that, fear is real.
Sure it is.
We need to talk about how fear is real. We're not telling you that you can't be fearful because there's heaven. Oh, fear is real because Jesus was fearful. Jesus was so fearful and so anxious in the garden before he was crucified. He sweat blood.
Right.
That only happens when your body is under so much stress.
That's true.
That these little, they're not capillaries. What are they called? Are they capillaries?
They're capillaries. I think they are. They burst.
Bust.
Yeah.
And they come, and blood comes through your pores. That's a high level of anxiety. So
he also told the disciples to stay awake.
Yes.
And watch, right?
Yeah.
I mean, he was anxious. Why was he anxious? He was God in the flesh.
Yeah.
He could have called on a legion of angels anytime to let it be.
Yeah, but he didn't.
Because
he wanted to help us see that if he could overcome it, we could overcome it.
Right.
I mean, oh my gosh, it's just incredible.
It's incredible.
It blows my mind all the time.
It does. There's no way to describe heaven.
No way.
Obviously. None of us have been there, so we can't describe it. But I feel like there's not even the words in the human language that could describe such a thing. And there could be honeycomb cereal in heaven.
There could be honeycomb. I prefer Fruity Pebbles.
Yeah.
It's really good.
I just think about everybody out there that is going through a hard time.
Yeah.
Like we have our friend Carrie who's going through a hard time right now, and that's a scary thought. Like you can't help but think about it, but she is in the hands of Jesus and he is carrying her through. So like thinking about her and thinking about how she is now, I'm like just praying over her and praying for her and praying that God just carries her and delivers her and heals her. And man, I believe that with all my heart.
Yeah, me too. Amen.
She's going to be okay. Yeah. And when you pull through this, she will have a story. Yes, and even in the midst of like the really dark, awful, scary times, he's there. That's when his light shines the brightest.
Yeah.
And that's when we have that hope of heaven.
Definitely.
But I feel like God wants us to enjoy this earth too. Yeah. And that we get a little bit of heaven on this earth. God blesses us with like these beautiful trees and these flowers, and the sunsets have been just glorious. Yeah. Or the sun rises in the morning, because now it's 5 o'clock in the morning and it's daylight, and it's 5 o'clock at night, it's dark.
Yeah, I know. Aren't we supposed to be done with that?
I know, it's so stupid.
Is our state supposed to be done with that? Like, can
anybody
comment?
Yeah, it's so stupid.
Fact check that.
Yes, fact check that.
If we're
like
done
next
with
year, maybe.
Next
I've
year,
heard
like
that.
after April.
I don't know. I've heard that.
Please tell us. And it says that he has set eternity in our hearts.
That's true.
And so our hearts are longing for it and looking for it, even when we don't know it exists.
Absolutely.
It's been put in there. So I think that's why a lot of people are still asking the questions. Believers and unbelievers. I think they're still asking the questions because they're still searching for something that God Himself put in their heart to search for, and they just haven't found it yet.
Yeah. I love this song, Because He Lives. You ever heard that song? Because He lives, I can face tomorrow. Because He lives, all fear is gone. Because I know He holds the future, and life is worth the living just because He lives. That song my grandma used to listen to that song all the time. And so when you are faced with the next day, like, oh my gosh, I got to go do this, or the next day I got to go do this, it's okay, because He's already there with us.
Yeah.
And He's carrying us through.
That's one of the things I tell a lot of people, because of that verse Romans 8:28 where it says He works all things for the good for those who love Him and who are called according to His purpose. He works all things for the good. It doesn't say He does the bad. It says that He works all things for the good. And so, and again, He's in no time realm, right? So a friend of mine showed me this illustration. She said, if you look at this pin as the timeline, we're somewhere on this timeline. Well, if you're God and you're not in a time realm, right? And you're in the heavens, you're up here. This is everything outside of the time realm.
Right.
What were we saying? Oh yeah. Okay, so God works everything for the good. Okay. I forgot all this. I lost my train of thought because I was so focused on the pin, not being in the camera.
Yes.
Okay, so if He promises to work all things for the good, then if you're here on let's just say that this is the creation and this is the end. This is when Jesus returns. Okay. Let's just say you're somewhere right here and it's not looking real good. Maybe you've done something yourself that's bad, or maybe something bad has been done to you, right? Mm-hmm. And God promises to come in and restore, redeem, and make things good. So He already seen this, so He's went ahead of you into your tomorrows, because He can do that. He can come from outside of the time realm into the time realm and do what He promised to do. And so when we're sitting here going, oh no, what's going to happen? It's not like it knocked God off the throne. Like He's not up there going, oy vey, now what do I do? Now I got to change everything.
They really messed this up.
He already knows, and he's already gone ahead of you.
That's wonderful. I can remember, like, okay, because I couldn't eat for 9 months. And so every once a week, I had, like, this guy would come and he would deliver, like, all of my supplies, right? It looked like our living room looked like a hospital or a medical facility of some sort. And he would bring all this stuff in the TPN, the stuff that I had to have. And so, but I remember it was just like every week, here it was again, here it was again, here it was again. And you're in pain and you're hungry and you don't know for sure what's going to happen. You're hopeful. You're very hopeful that God is going to heal you. And I know he can do it. I remember so many times praying, God, I know that you can say the word and I'm healed. I remember saying that, believing that with all my heart. But for whatever reason, it didn't happen right away. And I still will never understand that. Right. But he does, because he was already in my tomorrow. There was just a plan that he had, and I just had to walk through it. Mm-hmm. And in the end, he took care of everything.
You couldn't see the tomorrows.
No, but he
already
did.
Yeah.
He already did. And there's people you will reach and touch, and things you will say and do, or somebody will say to you that you maybe never even know. Mm-hmm. You just don't know who you might reach in that moment, right?
You really have.
And maybe they have no idea who even Jesus is or what heaven is, but they see you in perfect peace and they think, well, I want that.
I want that, yeah. I was going to tell you, when you were talking about your grandma, I was just going to backtrack just a little bit when, you said, wow, if I could bring her back, if God said, do you want me to bring her back? Let you have her again. And you said no, because of what she sees now, what she hears, what she smells, what she's experiencing.
She'd be mad.
Yeah. There was this comedian who said this one time. He goes, can you just picture it, you got Lazarus, right? Best buds with Jesus or whatever, and then Lazarus dies and Jesus weeps, and he goes and he's like, hang on, I got this,
Right.
And 4 days later, if you don't know the story, he raised Lazarus from the dead. Now, but let's jump into Lazarus' point of view, okay?
Oh, sure.
He's maybe had a bum knee or whatever this comedian was saying. Could have had back problems. He was obviously sick. He died, He was aching and having pains, but now he's in glory, right? And he's like, maybe he's playing golf, or maybe he's like fixing his mansion up, or, or whatever, just enjoying life. And all of a sudden, 4 days later, boom, 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 somebody's knocking at the door. Hey, Lazarus,
you got to go back to Earth.
We don't normally do this, but we're going to have to send you back. I mean, we laugh about that, but that's the perspective that we don't have here,
right?
That they have there.
No, we read it and we're like, oh, what a miracle! Jesus brought him back.
And he's
but
like,
on his end, no.
No, and that's what I think about the babies. I think about the children.
Oh gosh,
as hard as that is, and that is really, really hard to think about how they're sitting on the lap of Jesus. They're dancing, they're twirling, they're singing, and again, with no concept of time up there, it's almost as if we're all there in a minute with them.
And we really are.
And they don't, they still know us as mom and dad,
right.
And they still, are just, oh my gosh, just enjoying the excitement and the splendor
of
and
heaven.
the awe of heaven.
For sure.
And I have to purposefully, I have to intentionally make myself think that way. One, because that's our hope and our promise.
Of course.
I have to, that's just the truth. But two, because I have to renew my mind so my heart can heal.
Oh, absolutely.
We
have
need
to change that thought, right?
We have to change the thought so our heart can heal.
So I shared with Rhonda that after my grandmother died, and I was so close to her. I mean, she was one of my favorite people on the whole earth. And it was a few days after she died. I was actually standing in the kitchen right over there. And I was just so sad. Like when somebody dies, it's just like waves come over you. Everybody understands that. There's just waves of sorrow. And I was standing in the kitchen, and out of nowhere, just this wave just hit me. It wasn't like I was thinking about her or anything. Like, a wave of sorrow came over me, and all of a sudden, it was just like a vision. I can't even explain it. I've told you this. But I could see her, and she was younger, and she had her arms out like this, like she was holding hands with somebody, twirling around and laughing. And it was just like the most beautiful, moment. And it was just so comfort to my heart. That's where she's at. My grandma couldn't twirl around. She couldn't walk. I mean, she was in so much pain and she was so broken, but she was made new.
Yeah.
That's good. Hope of heaven.
Yeah.
Hope of heaven. And joy, unspeakable joy. We don't even know joy down here.
Right.
Because
we only know it as far as this kitchen table.
I mean, we only know you laugh so hard your face hurts or you pee your pants or something.
Which sometimes that happens when you don't laugh.
You sneeze too hard.
Because the scripture talks about how, when we're absent from the body, we're immediately present
Right.
with the Lord, right? Okay, so he actually told the thief on the cross. Remember, there was
Yeah,
two thieves.
yes.
One mocked him, and
Right.
the other's like, okay, mocked him at first, but then said, okay, tell me, I don't want to be left here.
Right.
I want to go with you. He's like, I'm telling you right now, today,
You'll
be with me in paradise. So he tells him that today you're going to be with me in paradise. So he says you're going to be once we die, you're going to be present with me. Now the thief on the cross,
hanging on the cross.
Yes.
He didn't have time to get baptized or do anything.
No, he didn't. He didn't
godly.
have to go to church or read any scriptures from the Old Testament.
Just remember me when you get to your
Yeah,
kingdom.
just remember me. And he said, okay, I will. You got it.
Right.
That's all it took. I
all
love
it
that.
took.
And even that thief, it says in one of the Gospels, that thief also mocked Jesus.
At
it wasn't
beginning,
just the one.
right.
Yeah. And then he changed his mind. And it's like, that's the mercy
That's awesome.
of a loving Father. This is why it's so important that you know him as a loving, merciful
Right,
Father.
for sure you do. So I was at work, and I was with this older patient, and we're in the gym, and we're doing our thing, and he says to me, he goes, "You're a Christian, aren't you?" And I said, "I am." And he goes, you hang around somebody long enough, and if Jesus is in you, it's going to come out.
Yeah, Jesus said, they will know you are Christians.
Mm-hmm.
You are Christ. You are followers of Christ because of your love for one another.
For one another.
That's when we look like him the most. Because that's what he said the greatest commandment is. Love God and love one another.
Right.
Love people. So we love him and then we love others. And you can't be magnifying Jesus anymore than when you're loving somebody.
That's true.
It is so good. That's a good
not
place to start.
everybody is lovable, Grumpy.
Oh,
like they're
yeah.
in pain.
Listen, everybody's got a story.
Right, they're in pain, or they're sad, or they're frustrated,
Right.
or they're hopeless, or whatever
Something's going on at home, or something's going on with their job, or something's going on with their family.
It makes me want to love them more.
Exactly.
I want to get in there into their world and show them love. And even if it's somebody who has dementia, and they're not going to remember it 5 minutes from now, they're going to remember it.
They're going to hear it then. They're going to hear it at that
And
moment.
they're going to be loved and felt secure and safe in that moment. Boy, that's just what we need from
That's
Jesus
really good.
every day.
That's what we need all the time.
Right.
And so we need to give that away. We need to give that away. And so that's, again, one of those other things that I have to be intentional about changing my mind. So if someone is, is ignorant to me or
Right.
just mean in general,
Right.
my flesh wants to be like, right? And then I have to stop and go, wait a minute, there's something going on in that
Usually there
person's
is.
life that's causing that. And Jesus loves them. He absolutely adores them, thinks day and night of them. And he wants to be made more real to you every moment. Every moment.
Definitely
he wants to
he
be more
does.
real to you than the last moment with you. He wants you to know him more. He wants you to know him better. He wants Now, the Bible talks about we don't get like our glorified bodies until Jesus returns, right? So, but we are very real and present with the Lord, and our soul is. Our soul has all of our senses, like all of our senses. What does that look like? I don't have
know.
that answer.
Don't know.
I don't know. All I know is we're real. We smell. We have sense. We have all of our senses. And
What do we smell like?
Okay, so the glorified body. So when we get our glorified body, it's going to be the body that God gives us, brand new, healed, whole. Oh my gosh, recognizable. So don't worry, it's not going to be a body that's not recognizable to anybody.
Who'd that be?
But you told me about
Who'd that be? The Rhonda?
You told me what were you saying that time when you were at work and you were talking to the people about in 10,000 years.
Oh yes, that's so good.
So when you were singing the song and you're like 10,000.
It's Amazing Grace.
Yeah, and when you get to the verse about
when we've been there 10,000 years.
Yeah, when we've been there 10,000 years.
Bright shining as the sun, we'll have no less days to sing God's praise than when we first begun.
And then you said something to them. You asked them a question.
Yeah. I said, what do you think we're going to look like when we're 10,000 years old?
And then you were all laughing, and I'm like, I would totally get like, whoa.
I know, right?
That's old.
But eternity.
What did you say was the one thing that's proof that we get older? You said it was your birthday, didn't you?
Oh yeah, every year you get older.
Every year you get older.
Right.
You can't deny it. So
You can't.
Your
Well, you
birthday.
can deny it, but it's you're still gonna.
You can't deny it. Oh, you can deny it. Oh, you can't deny it. There's people that deny it. Oh my god.
But it's true. Every year that goes by, you get older. That's very true.
Yeah. So
The gray hair will prove that,
gray
or the
hair.
no hair will prove that, or the hair on your chin will prove it.
Okay, we're gonna wrap it up.
That's a
Yeah, so this will be out. You'll be watching this on Tuesday. But it's Veterans Day
Yes,
today.
Veterans Day
So
today.
this is when we can finally get together.
I know.
And record.
Schedules.
Yeah, our schedules are kind of crazy because we both work, but
Right.
we made it happen, and so we're glad it was only just 2 weeks. What was the one thing that I asked at the daylight savings thing?
Stupid. So, right?
I think it was for the farmers, wasn't it?
But they've got better tractors now than I have cars. So, like, everything's electronic and lights and camera action, right?
They got better tractors with better lights.
They do. They got headlights and air conditioning, and like they don't need this anymore.
No, and we love our farmers.
Oh yes,
but we just don't know
for
that
sure.
you need this daylight savings anymore.
Maybe, but I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't think so. I never thought about that way, but technology.
But I think that's why it started back in the day,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Without farmers, we'd have no food, so we're really thankful for farmers. So what were you saying?
What was I saying?
I don't know.
What was it? 312?
312. I know.
That's the typewriter on Sesame Street.
Was it? Yeah, it's Sesame Street.
Yeah, the typewriter.
Can you see that? Can you see that?
Barely.
I know. You want to wear my glasses over your glasses? All right.
Okay.
We'll see you next time.
We'll see you next time. We love you.
We love you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.